All right, let's just dive right into this incredibly unique explainer. Today, we're going to visually map out a wildly specific and frankly absolutely fascinating movie storyboard pitch that we found buried deep in the corners of Substack. It's written by an author named David Joseph, and the piece is titled The OddTistics. We're going to take you through this narrative step by step, really storyboarding it out to help you visualize exactly how this crazy story unfolds. It's this bizarre journey that mashes up celebrity, offline data security, and a completely unorthodox approach to psychiatry. Right out of the gate, we've got to ask the big question. How exactly does Ricky Gervais cure PTSD? Seriously, hold on to that completely absurd question for a second, because that is literally the exact hook the author uses to set the stage. We're about to storyboard an escalating narrative that treats this whole premise with utter deadpan seriousness. I mean, this isn't a medical journal, right? It's a fictional movie pitch that goes to some incredibly strange places. So how does a famous British comedian solve a massive psychiatric condition? Let's check out the first scene of our storyboard.
So, Act 1 opens up with our main guy making a pretty drastic life change. According to the source material, Ricky Gervais just up and buys an independent, abandoned resort island that's entirely free of any government regulations. He changes his name to Dave and completely vanishes from public life. Poof, gone. He's now the sole ruler of his own little world, this sunny paradise with frequent overnight showers, basically a place where he can act exactly as he pleases without the outside world breathing down his neck.
Now, Dave doesn't just build a nice little beach house. His whole island setup follows this wildly specific, kind of escalating logic. Step 1, he renovates a massive, empty 1,000-room hotel. Step 2, he installs a giant network of workstations and servers. But crucially, and definitely keep this in mind for later, there is absolutely zero connection to the internet. It is 100% offline. And step 3, well, he brings hundreds of rescued dogs and cats over to the island. And in his free time, Dave specifically teaches these animals to eat spiders, just as many as they can find. Why? The author simply notes, quote, Dave does not care for spiders. Honestly, it's those exact bizarre little details that make this storyboard so captivating. Okay, so what are the actual ground rules for this utopian island? Picture this like your standard corporate HR onboarding policy, but, well, completely unhinged. First off, absolutely no STDs are allowed, with a very specific shout out to monkeypox. Second, all incoming males have to undergo mandatory, albeit reversible, vasectomies. The author explains this is to foster a quote-unquote free love environment without any material consequences. On top of that, absolutely no babies are allowed, noting that Dave specifically disagrees with Elon Musk's ideas about populating the planet. And finally, the most absolutely crucial operational rule of the island. No data read, watched, or heard on the island can ever be repeated off the island.
All right, with those wild rules set in stone, the recruitment phase kicks off. Dave goes global, trying to recruit thousands of autistic computer programmers and data specialists. And amazingly, Dave's hiring process involves literally zero standard background checks. He doesn't care about their past, their education, or really, well, anything about them. The only two strict requirements to get on that plane to the island are that they can't be currently wanted by any government for breaking the law, and they've got to pass that strict STD check we just talked about. Thousands actually accept the terms and are brought to the island, all on Dave's dime, and get their own comfortable rooms in the renovated hotel.
Which brings us to Act 2. The Anonymous AI Project.
This is where we hit the core concept of the explainer. Dave gathers all these programmers in the hotel ballroom and finally drops the actual goal of their recruitment. He tasks his massive team with building an anonymous AI, or AAI. Basically, it's an organically developed algorithm designed to automatically send suggestions to users who submit their personal stories, all with the ultimate goal of curing PTSD. The system they're tasked to build has to allow victims and survivors to submit text, audio, or video stories with guaranteed, totally provable anonymity for all time.
To make this whole cure a reality, Dave envisioned this massive, literal data pipeline, and the team actually builds a perfect, secure system for it. In Phase 1, millions of stories are gathered on the mainland, and then physically moved, not copied, mind you, just physically moved over to the island's completely offline servers. In Phase 2, Dave tells the programmers to analyze this gigantic data pool. So they read, listen to, and watch the stories to find predictable patterns, the beginning, middle, and end of every trauma. All that data is shared internally among the team, but nothing ever leaves the island. Finally, in Phase 3, the AI takes those thousands of identified patterns and starts interacting anonymously with the submitters, offering suggestions that slowly rid the world of the condition.
Well, we kind of have to talk about the day-to-day environments on the island now. Remember those mandatory vasectomies and the whole free love policy? Yeah, with absolutely everything provided for them and no currency on the island, there's very little to distract them from their jobs, except, of course, each other. The author explicitly states that, quote, sex is rampant, while this astonishing, world-changing code is organically and passionately developed by the team. Dave, for his part, he only cares about the algorithm.
So it takes a few months of incredibly intense coding and pattern recognition. But you know what? They actually succeed. They build the AI, it starts firing off these suggestions, and the result is 1. They successfully cure exactly one massive condition, PTSD. Just one. But obviously, Dave knows they can't just stop there.
Which leads us into Act 3, curing the entire DSM-5. Dave scales the whole project way up. They create brand new databases for literally every single condition in the DSM-5. Interestingly, though, they completely exclude autism, because Dave's team has essentially proven it isn't a condition at all, but rather a gift that saved millions. So the programmers restart their intense, unorthodox workflow. In the author's exact words, they, quote, fucked their way to a solution for every condition and label in the book. Boom. As a result, the entire global psychiatry industry is rendered completely dead overnight, just a failed experiment replaced by this new science. With the world saved from ineffective medicines, Dave sends all the programmers home unimaginably rich. And then he destroys all the servers. He literally burns the evidence, declaring it a history we can just live without. The aftermath of this whole global cure thing is just fascinating. The programmers, who the author acronyms as the HAPs, become world famous for saving mental health, though they actually honor their NDAs and never speak a word about their time on the island. Meanwhile, Dave drops the pseudonym. He changes his name back to Ricky and casually slips right back into his previous life in comedy. The world at large never finds out it was his grand experiment. He does, however, coin the globally beloved term OddTistic to honor the people who saved mankind.
And now for something completely different. Act 4, the Ice Cup Epilogue.
Okay, seriously, brace yourselves for the ultimate narrative whiplash here. On one hand, we've got Ricky's great behind-the-scenes achievement, literally eradicating all mental illness globally. Huge deal, right? And what is his apparent true-life calling in the public eye? Inventing a cup that holds ice but doesn't make a tinkling noise. You see, because Ricky spent his entire massive fortune funding the island experiment, he actually has to go back on his comedy tour and double his ticket prices just to survive. His fans are, understandably, furious. So to appease them, Ricky channels his genius into inventing this non-tinkling cup simply because he can't stand the noise ice makes in a glass.
To make up for the crazy ticket prices, Ricky starts handing out these non-tinkling cups completely for free at his comedy shows, and it just explodes. He starts officially selling them under the highly aggressive, totally on-brand name Fuck Ice Cups, and unbelievably, it becomes an instant monumental commercial success.
The trajectory we're storyboarding here is honestly so bizarre. These Fuck Ice Cups essentially become the global standard overnight. Pubs, restaurants, and comedy stores everywhere adopt the no-tinkling trend. Ricky is thrilled. His ears are an absolute heaven wherever he eats or performs. And the grand finale of this entire movie pitch? Ricky Gervais becomes rich again. He is completely forgiven by the public for the expensive ticket ice incident and, get this, is officially knighted by King Charles. The story ends with him receiving a knighthood strictly because of a plastic cup, while the eradication of global trauma remains his absolute secret.
But honestly, the most mind-blowing part of this entire explainer might not even be the story itself. It's the reaction to it. Just listen to this comment left on the original Substack post. A user named Kelly J. Wise writes, asking if she and singer Jason Mraz can join together, claiming they have been the most victimized of this abhorrent AI experiment to cure PTSD, and straight up demanding compensation for pain and suffering. It leaves us with a truly wild final thought to end our storyboard on. Did someone out there actually read this completely fictional, literally impossible AI island experiment and believe it was a real thing that happened to them? And if so, what does that say about the way we consume information on the internet today?